Libertarian-minded Argentine President Javier Milei shook up Argentina when he won the presidency in 2023, promising to slash departments and elbow his way onto the world stage. Argentina was a country for decades plagued by socialism and terrible mismanagement. So Milei was the shock to the system the nation desperately needed. But since taking office, Milei has taken a more pragmatic approach. Milei has gone from likening China to an assassin to now a super-friendly trading partner and developing a personal relationship with Brazilian President Lula da Silva after calling him a communist. But has he shifted his ideology, or is it true that in order to truly disrupt, you have to play the game, become somewhat of an insider? Joining us now for some insight into this is Dr. Shea Bradley Farrell, president of the Counterpoint Institute. She was just down in Argentina looking at what they're doing to get the country back on track. I'm glad you returned. I'm glad you're here again.
Thank you, Chanel. So good to be with you. I talked to all kinds of interesting people, including the vice president of Argentina while I was down there and one of Milei's leading economists. So I'd gladly update you on what's going on down there.
Well, so talk to us about this transition that we're kind of seeing. Maybe it's not a transition. Maybe this is just the natural course of running for office, making a lot of promises, and then having to actually deal with the situation on the ground and become more diplomatic. Talk to us about that shift in tone and then, why it matters to, say, a Trump presidency.
Yeah, Milei has not pivoted at all, Chanel. He is doing exactly what he said he would do during the election, and he's done it courageously. I mean, he has cut government spending drastically. When he first got in December, inflation was at 25% a month. It's down to around 3.5% right now. He literally got rid of 9 ministries when he first got into office, 50 secretariats, and I think something like 42 undersecretariats. So he is doing what he said he would do. I talked to a lot of different people who even told me about these people working for the government who are called gnocchis, like little Italian pasta, because traditionally gnocchi is served in Argentina near payday. And these are the people that come to collect a paycheck from the government who do not show up for work. So he has cut thousands of those. They've done their homework to find out who was coming to work, who was not. But I mean, this is the symptom of a bloated, as you said, government that has been under some sort of socialism over the many past decades. And he is cleaning that up. To talk about China, though, and stop me if you want to get something in there. But as far as China goes, yeah, I think he's being pragmatic about China. Here's a couple things. Mm-hmm. First of all, the U.S. is, China was our #1 trading partner until last year when Mexico overtook China. So how we can talk about this, I don't know, because we heavily invest in China and allow heavy investment from the Chinese in our country. Having said that, though, when I speak to foreign governments, I do advise, don't be naive about China's intentions. But that leads me to a main point that I would like to share, Chanel. China has a huge footprint in South America, in Argentina and in other states of South America. Iran does, Russia does, Hezbollah and other terrorist organizations. So we are doing comparatively little trade and little investment in Argentina. Now, they're trying to clean up corruption right now so that people will be more encouraged and feel more confident in investment. I get that. But if we want to try to keep China and Iran out of our hemisphere, then we need to seek better trade relationships, better relationships with Argentina. They are the last bastion for freedom in South America. It's very important.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that because, Argentina's not normally on most people's radars, especially American voters. Why do we care about Argentina, right? But South America is geopolitically imperative. It is imperative because it is right now entertaining America's top allies. And Argentina is important because you have this libertarian kind of Trump-leaning leader, rare to have those in the world. And you also have, El Salvador also. So a couple of pockets in South America and Central America starting to rise up and really try to counter some of the socialist and the Marxist influences that have been planted there by China using Chinese dollars, Chinese money and investment. It's important to have allies in South America because that's the one way we can stave off our adversaries.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, right now, my opinion is that we are being very naive ourselves about what's going on down there because we've allowed Iran and Russia and China and, like I said, terrorist organizations to have a huge footprint. And countries like Venezuela and Brazil have become communist and authoritarian and dictatorial. And, we had the Monroe Doctrine many years ago. I'm not saying that we need to have the exact same focus that we did then, but we need a form of the Monroe Doctrine where we are keeping our adversaries out of our own hemisphere. And, the thing about it is, what you just mentioned, Argentina's government right now, it is such fertile ground for U.S. collaboration, U.S. Trading partners. They also have great natural resources down there. They have wonderful beef, I will tell you that. I do realize that that is somewhat of a competition for the United States, but leather goods and energy and et cetera. But as you referred to, man, we are in a fight right now for freedom around this world and to push down top-down decision-making states, Marxist states. And President Milei and the Vice President, Visha Ruel is her name, Victoria, they are trying to make Argentina great again. That's their tagline. The other line of President Milei.
So, Dr. Shea, let me ask you this, Dr. Shea. The transformation, there are a few countries down there that are trying to get out of socialism. And I'm curious about this because this is an interesting example of here's a country that was mired by socialist policy for decades, and they're digging their way out, right? Mm-hmm. And it looks like they're somewhat succeeding. What does that look like? What were some of the reforms that President Milei has implemented since taking power to claw out of socialism?
Well, I will just go back to what I started with because it's huge. Taking a over-bloated government that was killing the economy. I mean, they have a poverty rate right now, over 50% of the population is in poverty, and like 18% of that is destitution. And this is a direct result of over public spending, literally printing money to be able to fund the government. And, the ministries that they're cutting, it is because they're not necessary. There are tens of thousands of people that have been pulling a paycheck from the government without going to work. And this wasn't a welfare program. These people were supposed to be showing up at work, doing some sort of work. So this has been a huge and significant step, like I said, to drastically reduce inflation. And also, Chanel, I talked with Hector Rubini. He is one of the leading economists for Milei's recovery plan. And he was also outlining how they are really hitting corruption, increasing the rule of law, so that their, investors will feel more confident to come.
Now that will be a very interesting battle because South America, Central America, my goodness, infamous for institutional corruption that really has held back that whole region for decades now. So it'll be interesting to see if they actually can accomplish that. Dr. Shea, thank you so much for the updates. And again, glad you're back home.
Thank you so much, Chanel. And I do think that they can accomplish this. I talked with the director of criminal intelligence also. He's a smart guy, and they are cracking down on this corruption. So let's stand with them.
Power to them if they can make it happen. Thank you so
That's
much.
right.
Kamala calls Trump a fascist. Will she ever learn? Will they ever have new attacks on him? One America's chief White House correspondent, Monica Page, has a weekly roundup up next.